Okay, welcome back. This is Mark Stump, early 2015. I'd like to see if I can get through this darn video in 10 minutes. This video will either be about philosophy or psychology or photography, but I'm calling it In Defense of HDR. And HDR stands for High Dynamic Range. Now, if you see photos as my wallpaper, and I've got them every 3 minutes, I think there's a new photo. These are all my photos, and these are all HDR photos, which I will not be discussing, but they are examples, so there you go. Now, okay, so let's get to it. Here's a photo. This is what you're used to getting from photography. This is the lie that you're used to. This is not the way it looks to my eye. Of course, if you're standing at this picnic, you can actually see the sky. Your human eye can see the sky. But the camera cannot handle this amount of dynamic range. It can't handle the difference between the intensity of light here and the intensity of light here. So it's either going to lose detail in the shadow or it's going to lose detail in the highlights, depending on the chosen exposure. Now, in this case, I don't care about the sky, so I'm fine with this picture. I think this is an alright picture of my old co-worker here who's in a sumo wrestler outfit. There is a lake here, and there are some structures here on the other side of the lake, homes. There's grass here, and there's, like I said, there's sky here, and there's tree here. There's a tree here. Now, of course, the tree is also out of focus, but that's not why it's all white. Yes, it's out of focus, but it's also overexposed, and it's overexposed to such an extent that there's no more detail here. It's just all white. Okay, same kind of thing. I think the subject is more or less correctly exposed, and this she's also in the shade. This is actually a parking lot. This might be a black surface, believe it or not. And this is either a building. This is maybe a building or a car, or this maybe the sky. There might, let me see. This is grass, I think. Concrete and grass. I don't know what these things are. This is sky, I believe. But you can't tell. You can't tell. And partly because it's out of focus, but mostly because it's overexposed. So these are just two examples of how my camera has failed to capture detail in the highlights. And of course, it can be the other way around. You can have a photo here, for instance, where in the shadow, and actually everybody here standing, on the same porch in the same amount of light, more or less. It just so happens that this dog is notoriously difficult to photograph. My human eye can see the detail in his fur. When you look at him, he looks like a dog, and you can see his fur. You can see detail in his fur. But the camera has such a hard time with him. Now here at the edges, of course, you can see some, here at the edges. But look at his left cheek. Try to tell me there's actually detail, I don't know, around here. Or right here. I think there's zero detail right there. Of course, there's, you see his eyes, and you can see his nose, and his tongue is reflecting light. And you see a little bit, here and here. But there's probably zero detail right here on his chest and his belly. I think you can see zero detail there. You can see detail on my brother's shirt, but no detail here. And you can see plenty of detail in my son's face and his hair. His hair is reflecting the light better than the dog's hair. So this is, anyway, an example of the camera letting me down and showing me something different than what my human eye shows me. But we're used to this. This is what we're used to. When you see a photo, you're used to the camera letting you down when it comes to the sky or the shadow, and sometimes even both. So I told you in this shot I didn't care about the sky. Now here's a landscape photo and I do care about the sky. I want to see the sky like this. This is how it looks to my eye. Of course, then the camera ends up lying about the ground. This shot was taken at 3:30 in the afternoon. I guarantee you, it did not look dark. If I looked down at that cow, it didn't look like the cow was standing in darkness. Yes, he was in the shade of a cloud, but it's 3:30 in the afternoon. There's actually plenty of light bouncing off of this field and those cows. But so here's another shot, which is maybe telling something more like the truth about this field and the cow. This is about the way things looked. I have some aspens which are turning. You can see some are green, some are greenish yellow, some are just yellow. And the trunks are the color of aspen trunks, which is mostly white. But now in this same shot, my camera's lying about the way the sky looked. The sky didn't look like this. The sky looks more blue, and the clouds actually have more detail in them than this. So in order to try to show you what the scene looked like to me, I've combined those 5 shots. I'll show them to you real fast. Not that one, not that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 shots to get this. Okay, actually there were more shots. There were 15. Because it's also a stitch. So I had 5 in the center and then 5 on the side and 5 on the side. Now some people look at HDR and they say, oh, it doesn't look natural, or it doesn't look real. And now we've gotten to the heart of my video, in defense of HDR. And we can get to the psychology and the philosophy part too. I want to give you an analogy from my experience in the airport. I've been flying twice a month for the last 10 years. Recently I saw that one of the moving walkways was out of order, but it would allow me to walk as fast as I want because there was no one on it. So I could pass the slower moving walkers by getting onto this non-functioning moving walkway. And when I did, of course I figured, oh, no big deal. It'll just be like 99% of the walking I do in my life. But it wasn't. As soon as I got onto it, I realized that my brain knows this is a moving walkway, and I'd gotten used to over these last 9 years, I've gotten used to the moving walkway feeling a certain way, and it was very weird. And what's funny about that and interesting about that is that it doesn't matter that the non-functioning moving walkway gives the same experience as 99% of my walking. What matters is that I've gotten used to a moving walkway, and this was weird. And I think that's what other people are doing when they see photos. It doesn't, I claim that this photo actually looks more like the real scene than those other photos, those lies. And certainly more, I think this lie is much less of a lie than this lie. But when people see this photo, they don't say, oh, that doesn't look real. Oh, did you mess with the colors? That doesn't look right. They don't say that because this is a lie that they're used to. Look here, some aspens have lost their leaves entirely. You know, these are over a mile away from me. This rock is 1 mile away from me. And the peak is 5 miles from me. Anyway, there's some blurry birds. Anyway, why is it that people say, oh, did you mess with the colors? And yet they don't say that on this shot. Well, it's because this is the lie that you're used to. And so now, I'm not here to tell people what you ought and ought not to like. I wouldn't argue if someone says, I like this, I don't like this. You know, like whatever you want, it's fine with me. But I am here to say that when I hear people say that this doesn't look natural, but this is nice, then what I want to tell them is what you should be saying is this is not what I'm used to. You know, this is the broken moving walkway. It might be reality, but it's not the reality I'm used to seeing from a photo, so it's weird. Whereas this is the lie that I'm used to, so it's not weird. This is the normal moving walkway, you know. And some people have actually got it in their heads that this black and white is more highbrow, more artistic, more worthy of praise. You know, whatever. That's fine with me. But just please don't tell me that this is not real. You know, and tell me, oh, this is wonderful. They're all lies. They're all lies. But I swear to you, this is the lie that's the least lie. This is the least lie. And it's really not that I'm messing with the colors so much as, you know, if I go back to these photos, you know, if you believe that the camera is telling the truth to begin with, which it isn't, then you would have to believe that this is the way the sky really looked. And this is pretty much the sky I'm showing you in my HDR, you know, in my composite image. Now, meanwhile, you know, if you believe the camera is telling the truth, you know, the photos straight out of the camera are telling the truth, then you pretty much have to believe that this is the way the field looks, you know, in this photo. And, well, and this is the field I'm showing you in my HDR image. This is pretty much the field there's a structure there. It just so happens that I'm showing you what you're not used to seeing, and that's detail and correct color in the highlights at the same time that I show you detail and correct color in the shadow. Well, you sure didn't see that with the picture of the, you know, the guy and the girl at the picnic. So this is why I'm saying, you know, that this video is either about psychology or philosophy or photography, but I'm calling it In Defense of HDR. So, geez, I think I've said everything I wanted to do. I more or less defined HDR. I gave you examples of cameras failing to handle the dynamic range that your human eye can handle. I've given you this example, and I showed you the black and white as, you know, this is evidence to me that this is really about what people are used to. It's not about what's natural. It's about what you're used to, and that's also what my moving walkway story is about. So there it is. That's everything. Thank you for watching, and please come back.